so I used that beating plane to make these grooves, but it's not always the best tool. Here it is. You've been seeing me use it, but I like using it. I like how the bronze is heavy in the hand and it registers really well to the wood. But I guess maybe it's because of the leverage, or maybe I just don't have the blade sharp enough right now. There's times when it kind of chatters in the groove, so it like doesn't really cut well. It's only happened a few times on this project, but it's happening now. So I wanted to show you the other plane that I use. Here is the plow plane. And just to say a couple words about this, it's kind of worth saying a few things about it. The plow plane does a really basic job, which is to cut grooves like what I've been cutting. And but for its simplicity, like of the what it does, the design of the tool, the plane itself was a way for plane makers to kind of show off their skills. So some of the most ornate vintage wooden planes were these plow planes, and this is kind of a basic one, to be honest. They get way more ornate than this, and so they're really beautiful tools. And see if you can just see the, I mean everything, like the brass thumb screws, then there's a brass depth stop, and then these unscrew, and they're just beautiful tools. So I can get a lot more leverage with this, and I recently sharpened the iron. So I'm gonna first show you me using the beating plane and then switching to this. I have to be careful about this right here, this metal bit hitting this shoulder. It already has hit it a couple times, which is why I haven't been using this, because it's just a little unwieldy in a small space like this. But it does cut smoother, easier. So here it is. You can see it's a little rougher than the other ones, just because these don't have to be perfect, and I kind of rushed it a little, but it did the trick really fast. So we'll start out soaking it a little in bleach and then let it dry. Oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. Now we're gonna embellish it, give it a little bit of character. Not sure what to call these, maybe pinstriping. Kind of cleaning it up there. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Now I'm going to chamfer the edges. I like how it's simple, yet expressive. It's kind of what I'm going for. I like it. The one in the middle is the original ash color. So just pretend like these are life-size posts. That one was left in the natural color, and then the chamfering, you know, the kind of minor decoration actually makes, you know, you can see it's kind of lighter. Over time, these colors would probably equalize, but it's a beautiful color. But to get the kind of visual effect that I wanted, here is the bleached one. And so my idea is that on the outside of the structure, everything is bleached like this, and then as you go inside that entranceway and hallway, everything is more this color. So you get this nice contrast between the hot, bone-dry desert to a more lush, welcoming, warm environment. And then this one here, as you can see, is where I kind of played with whitewashing and or wood stain, and it just looks too artificial. So I was kind of hoping to capture like kind of the vibe of a, you know, an old cow skull or femur bone that you'd come across in the middle of the desert. You know, that bone white, not totally white, but kind of yellowish white. And I thought, well, what if I just actually use bleach to get that bleached look on the wood? So you're kind of, it's this progression from outside this bleached white, and then inside in the kind of intermediate space, the entrance hallway, it's this kind of sunlit, you know, the stained glass, honey colors of the wood, and then you go into the inner room and it's just black, with other things that you'll see in the future. But this is the first step in that. 2 hours. It's getting dark, so let's see what we have here. I use these bricks to hold everything down. So because of the water, it's all, you can still see some yellow in there, but as it dries, it should turn bone white. Okay, we're a little ways into the bleaching process. It does take some time, but I just wanted to kind of show you where things stand right now. Here you can really get a sense of the contrast between the original color of the ash and then the bleached color. I mean, 1 millimeter behind this white is this color. So, and then I kind of tried to show that a little bit by cutting into it down here. So that's what I'm going to be going for as I do the chamfering and decoration of the posts and beams. Hey, good morning. So we are deep into the bleaching process. There's some good news and some bad news. The wood is not taking to the bleach in a consistent way. As you can see here, two completely different colors, which for a different kind of project, that may not be a big deal, but for what I'm going for with this project, I just don't want that. I want all of it to kind of look like this. And so, yeah, the different cuts of the wood, say, the different cuts of the jib of the wood is going to yield different reactions with the bleach. That's what I'm finding out. I'm sure there's people out there that are like, well, of course that's what would happen. And yeah, you're right. I just didn't know that till I really got into it. However, the good news is I found another way to apply the bleach. And ready for it? Here we go. Boom. Boom. I'm still in the middle of it, so it's not completely bleached out, but you can see the difference there. I started applying it with a sponge. Okay, here you can see everything kind of at different stages, drying in the sun in my trusty blue Ford Ranger. Hi, Ranger. Let's take a look at the truck for a second. This is an amazing truck. It's a 2009, and these things will last forever. I've put like 3,000 pounds in the bed of this truck. It's an incredible truck. So here are the different phases. I'm gonna leave this one the normal color for now, just to provide some contrast. And then these are almost done. Pretty cool, right? This was definitely the way to do it, not that ridiculous soaking method, which looks so dumb in retrospect, but that's why I'm making a model, to make the mistakes now. And it was an easily correctable one, so here we go. It's definitely an improvement. I still have some reservations about the inconsistency in the colors of different pieces of wood, but it is an improvement. So now, as I've mentioned, I want the inside of the entranceway to be the bare ash wood, the warm tan golden color of the wood. So I'm going to get out the wood plane and start planing all the bleached wood from the interiors off. Can you see how dark that contrast is? Just like totally different look, right? There, now we're getting some more like what you would consider proper shavings. So that's pretty much what I want. So you can see, oh, right? That color, that color. As you're outside, you see that. As you walk inside, you see that. That to that. That to that. You see that? You know, it's not exaggerated. It's just kind of a little bit, you can see the line, the color line. It's just a little bit more golden, a little more warmth. Not a lot though. Outside is bleached, inside is dark. This approximates what I'm going for, although to be perfectly honest, I'm like maybe a 6 out of 10 on how the bleach took. As you can see, some places it just didn't. It's just not uniform. So that's something I need to think about. I am not really that happy with the result. I'm gonna go with it for now. I'm just gonna go with it, stick with the plan. But as you can see, and I've mentioned this throughout the process, there's vastly different results between the different woods. Closer to the heart of a tree, it's going to be denser, so it's not going to take to the bleach as well. And then as you get out, it's going to go like bone white. So like this went completely white. This, like, no matter how much bleach I put on it, it's still the same color. So this has been a huge learning process because there has been some trade-offs in that I've been getting the wood wet and it's changed in small ways. Like everything's fitting much more loosely now. So I gotta stop with the bleach, and I think I'm actually might be looking at doing the whitewash again, or looking at that option again, which this is that right here. So but for now, I'm just going to continue along the path that I was on, which is I'm going to go ahead and cut the ornamentation into the posts and the beam. Okay, I lied. I am going to totally redo this. I do not like the way the bleach came out. Just how it is. And I need to be able to depend on a uniform color for the final piece when I build it. And so that what's going to make that work is some kind of whitewash, a really light white stain on the wood, not a paint but more of a stain. So that's the direction I'm going to have to swivel towards. So I'm going to need to take this thing apart and plane down rather than sand or try to like use a chemical to get out the bleach. I'm just going to do some plain work on it, and then I'm going to whitewash it. This totally bummed me out. I'm used to stuff like this, but you never totally get used to it when you put so much time into something and it ends up being a dead end. But that's a part of the creative process. So just the way it is. This is going to be more of a sample of the final product. This will be more of like the embellishments. This actually has a really nice contrast with the color of the wood. So that's the direction we're going in. Say goodbye to the bleach. Hello, whitewash. You've already seen me plane a bunch of wood, so I'm doing a time lapse here. I worked pretty well into the evening to get all the wood planed down, and was able to do that. And as I've mentioned, the main issue with going back over and doing all this is now the wood pieces of wood are out of dimension. So nothing's really gonna fit that well anymore, but that's okay. Gonna keep moving. Back to this. So that was a huge learning experience. I'm glad I learned it on this model instead of a full size work. But yeah, we went from totally bleached back down to the natural wood. It's definitely not good for the model itself, because now that I've removed stock, you know, everything's narrower and smaller, but that's okay. That's why I'm doing this, like I keep saying. So that's why we're doing the model. Not a big deal. There it is. So we started off at bare wood, and then we moved over to the entire bleach debacle, and then we took it to bare wood again, and then we put on some whitewash. So that's where we're at. I'm happy with it. I'm happy now. One of the unfortunate side effects of doing all the bleaching is everything's loose now because of the water. It just kind of loosened everything up, but that's okay. We've got the natural color of the wood in here. And the next step is embellishing the beams and the posts a little bit to add some dimension and to give it a little more character. So it won't be so blocky looking. Hey there, friends. So that's done. That was brutal. That was a lot of work and a lot of backtracking, but I do like the final look with the whitewash. It's just that the bleaching thing that took so much time, and I feel like kind of a wood bleaching expert now. A lot of things I would do differently next time, but gonna keep moving. A little deeper. Clean it up with this, although that's pretty clean. Pretty nice. I like it. Next, I'm gonna put some, I think of them as teardrops. They're like bevels in these corners using a hammer and chisel, and then go from there. Now I'll do them on each corner. Okay, here it is with the teardrops. Teardrops and pinstripes. Next, I'm going to put a chamfer along these edges. See that? The trick is getting a even cut. Hope you get a sense of it. Let me show you what it looked like before using the other one. So it's not a, it's not a ton of work, but to me it adds a lot. It adds dimensionality, contrast, interest, and but without being too gaudy or too ornamentational. Okay, so now I need to do this same thing to a whole bunch of other pieces. And it's all going to be the same process as what you just saw. So I'm going to kind of speed through that and show you the end product. Okay, that took a while, but we got it done. So there we go. A lot of little bits and bobs, a lot of firewood here, but looks pretty cool. I'm happy with how it turned out. I had originally thought I would do a more kind of complicated design, but I'm glad I opted for something simpler, elegant, minimal. If you watched the last video, you saw that my kind of escapade in trying to bleach the wood rather than stain it resulted in a bunch of the joints shrinking, or the tenon shrinking inside the mortises. So that's why there's those gaps that weren't there before, but it's okay. That's why I make a model. I'm happy with it. So here is the stained glass situation. It's early morning, so it's not real dark, but you can get a sense of it. And obviously, to anybody who is just seeing this, one of my videos for the first time, this is going to be done life size here soon. This is just the model. So the next thing is I need to go through this with the auger and make a little dimple on this tenon, which I'll then also auger out. Okay, so I made those little dimples on the tenon. In timber framing and woodworking in general, there's a concept known as draw boring, where two pieces connect. Sometimes, you know, you bore the hole through, then it goes straight through, and then you put your dowel or your pin or whatever you want to call it in there, and it ends up like your joint ends up with a little space. You know, it could be a big space, could be a little space, like you're off a little bit, or even maybe it's just kind of in there, but there's just a little wiggle room. Draw boring means you actually like, you offset the hole in the tenon by like, some people say 1/8 of an inch, like for timber framing, but it can be a lot less. On something like this, I'm gonna offset it by like a 32nd, because I do need to be able to take this model apart. I can't have it like extremely tight, but it'll like cinch up this into the mortise. So it kind of cinches it in there. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so here is the little dimple there and there. So I'm gonna actually bore it out just a tiny bit over. So like right, dude, a tiny bit right there. Okay, there we go. So we got these 1/4 inch holes. Next thing I'm gonna do is take this square stock. I think it's like 5/8 or 3/4 inch square. And I'm gonna use this dowel plate, and essentially I'm gonna turn the square into a circular dowel going from 3/8 to 5/16 to 1/4. I know it's probably not good for the sharpness of this knife to be doing this on stainless steel, but it just works so well. Now we'll move it to 5/16. There we go. Did my draw bore work? Let's see if it's loose. You know, to be honest, that's a little loose. That should actually be tighter there. So that means that I actually did not offset the hole in the tenon enough. We'll see what happens down here. You kind of get two chances, kind of. I like kind of a rough look on these, so I didn't want to like, you know, you can bevel these edges up here to get that kind of green and green square peg look, but I like it to just look kind of rough also for this timber framing project. certain aspects of it are going to be rough. So I want these kind of like unfinished, just straight edges. So just kind of get them started. There's no wiggle room, there's no play here. It's totally rigid. Now I'm gonna go do the same thing down here. You've already seen the process, so I'll just jump through a couple things. Got to make sure it's all in there, in the grooves, which it is. It would have been good if I'd had video of this happening, but before I started hammering in the pegs, there was a little gap here. Even if I would have squeezed it tight, there still would have been a little gap. But having the draw board hole in there basically made it so that as this drove down through the mortise into the tenon, it just pulls this whole beam towards this post, and it really tightens up this seam right here. So same thing over here. As you can see, there's some examples where that I didn't do it well enough and that didn't work out, but it worked out real well here. There we go. I just need to saw these off, but I'm gonna leave that till the end. So now we got walls permanently. I'm gonna do the same thing for here and then the other side, but you already get the idea, so I'm not gonna make you watch all that. I'm going to snap my fingers, and there we go. Walls.